welcome back in Dan Hanzus, the host of the Heed the Call podcast. Dan, I was in the Giants locker room this week. There was a lot of enthusiasm there. They were feeling pretty good. I think maybe they thought that they had a chance to finally get another win this week. So, was today's loss to the Panthers the greatest indignity that they've had to deal with this season?
Man, we're on fire tonight, Katie. I think greatest indignity maybe because they're now at the point where they can't make the layups. You know, and you're supposed to go over to Germany and you're supposed to, take a caravan over there and enjoy the life over there and have a good time and then beat the worst team in the league and then come back to America and figure out if you could salvage a season. But when you can't win this game and you lose the game the way that they did with just sloppy play and, again, uninspired play by the quarterback, it kind of casts a pall over the entire organization. And it really, they are very much the Giants, a team at the crossroads right now as we head toward the back end of another fruitless season.
Yeah, and there are any number of sloppy things you can point to, right? The Giants offense turned the ball over 3 times, twice in the red zone, scored just 17 points against one of the worst defenses in the league. Do you think this loss is more on Brian Daboll or on Daniel Jones?
I got to go with the quarterback. There's a moment in this game that I think Giant fans will how they remember this game is late in the second quarter, a play where it's a flea flicker and Daniel Jones has two options wide open downfield, and he can't pull the trigger, and he gets swallowed up for a sack, and you see the receivers jumping up and down in frustration. Then they cut to Daboll on the sideline, who looks like if he had any hair that he'd be pulling it out, and because you look at the way the scheme and the way that game unfolded, there were plays to be made, but they have a quarterback who was a first-round pick, who they invested tens of millions of dollars in, who they essentially chose over Saquon Barkley, who was a generational talent, now starring for the Eagles. And now they're coming with the reckoning that this isn't the guy. And now it's Brian Daboll, and you heard some cryptic things. Many times when they ask a head coach after a game, like, what are you going to do at quarterback? We have to evaluate. Usually, Kate, when you hear that, a change is coming. So in the bye week, I would not be surprised if it's Drew Lock time, because I think Daboll thinks the scheme works. He just doesn't think the quarterback works.
Yeah, tough, right? I mean, they definitely left a little bit of meat on the bone. They tried putting Drew Lock in the game a couple weeks ago. But where do you stand on this? Is this the right time to bench Daniel Jones?
I think he, in the locker room, and you were in the locker room, and Daboll, obviously, nobody has a better pulse on the team than him. You have to make sure that you're doing right by these players, because they have to play out the string here. If he's sensing that the players are not buying in on Jones, you have to turn to Drew Lock, even though Drew Lock very clearly is not the future, and Tommy DeVito obviously is not to the future, but we respect him. He's an Italian and all that. But at the same time, the future is not on this team. The future is going to be coming down on the podium on draft night. So it's kind of a play out the string thing, and Daboll just has to decide, am I safe? Do I have to get a quarterback in there that will just be competent enough to make me look not so bad that ownership changes their mind on me?
Well, and that's the big question, right? Because just a couple of weeks ago, John Mara gave this regime a vote of confidence. Do you think he's rethinking that now?
I think they're run very well. I mean, the Giants are a Tiffany organization. I know it's been a tough decade for them, but there's a big difference between the way the Giants do their business and the Jets. And I think that organization and having a viewpoint above the treetops will help them. If they think that Daboll can do it, I think they'll give him another chance with another quarterback. I do think about the Belichick of it all, though, and what could happen if Belichick and Mara sit down together in a room in January and Belichick puts a sell on, because I think that's one thing, a reunion that Belichick is very emotional about his Giants time. Could Mara be swayed behind the scenes? But I would say Daboll's probably 60-40. I say he's back right now.
All right, we look at both of these football teams. Giants 2-8, Jets 3-7. Records aside, who do you think is the greater disappointment this season?
I think definitely the Jets. I think it was one of the biggest all-in seasons in recent memory in the NFL, certainly for the Jets. The Giants, we knew it's kind of a development year for them, especially without Saquon. The Jets, the idea was that this could be a Super Bowl team with Aaron Rodgers. So to see where they are, I have to say the Jets. And it's just tough times in New York sports right now, and you were hoping one of these teams would see their way through it, but just not the way it played out.
Dan, great insights. Tell us where we can find your podcast.
Yes, Heed the Call with Dan Hanzus and Mark Sessler. We do a NFL podcast 5 times a week wherever you get your podcast. So please check it out. I think you'll like it.
Check it out. And before we let you go, I know you're a big Yankee fan. We're going to talk some baseball in our next segment. So put you on the spot. Where's Juan Soto ending up next season?
All right, they could not close the World Series, but the Yankees always close things like this. They will spend the necessary money. He ain't going nowhere but the Bronx in April. That is my very strong feeling on that one.
All right, back in pinstripes.
Come on back, Juan.
Dan, thank you so much. Appreciate your time.
All right, see ya.